Florence Scovel Shinn. She was saying the exact opposite of what everyone else was saying about multiplying your money. While the world yells, grind, hustle harder, she calmly suggested, work less, while everyone else chants, save every penny, pinch those pennies. Florence encouraged, spend freely, while the experts insisted, plan every detail, control every outcome. She simply whispered, trust implicitly, and the people who actually listened, the ones brave enough to follow her. Seemingly crazy advice. They didn't just get by. They didn't just scrape together a living. They got rich, and not slowly, not gradually, overnight. Like the money, the abundance, had been there all along, just waiting for them to finally stop struggling so hard. The power that Florence unlocked, it wasn't about doing more. It was about doing less. It wasn't about chasing. It was about allowing. It wasn't about conquering. It was about surrendering. And that terrifies people who are addicted to control. Because surrender feels like weakness. Allowing feels like passivity. Doing less feels like laziness. But Florence, she called it grace, the law of grace, a law that trumps every single rule of karma, that makes effort unnecessary, that renders sacrifice obsolete. And in the next 20 minutes, you're going to discover exactly what this power is, how Florence stumbled upon it, in a mystical moment that changed not only her life, but the lives of thousands. You'll hear the specific phrase she taught that activates this power, and most importantly, why this teaching has been forgotten, buried beneath decades of misunderstood law of attraction, underneath affirmations that backfire, underneath visualizations that just don't work. Because Florence wasn't teaching the law of attraction. She was teaching something that came before it. Something far more profound. Something that makes the law of attraction merely a side effect. And when you understand this, when you truly grasp it, you don't need to attract anything. You simply allow it to arrive. And it does arrive with terrifying speed. With unnerving ease, with divine precision. It was 1925. Florence was 56 years old. She'd been teaching for a decade. She'd already published The Game of Life. She had already helped hundreds of people manifest prosperity, health, love. But something was nagging at her, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. Why did some people manifest instantly, while others struggled for years? Why did some declarations work immediately, and others seemed to have no effect at all? She woke up at 3 in the morning one day in June. It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a loud noise. It was silence. A silence so profound, it seemed to vibrate. And in that silence, she heard, not with her ears, but with something far deeper. A voice that wasn't a voice. A presence that wasn't physical. And the presence whispered one word, a single, solitary word. And that word carried volumes of understanding, centuries of forgotten wisdom, the secret Florence had been searching for. The word was surrender, not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of letting go, of releasing, of stopping your grip. And instantly, Florence understood. Every financial blockage she had ever witnessed wasn't about a lack of faith. It was about an excess of control. Every delayed manifestation wasn't because the universe was slow. It was because the person wasn't letting go. They were holding on, controlling, checking, doubting, disguised as planning. She got up and wrote for 3 hours straight, without stopping, without thinking, just channeling what had been revealed. And when she finished, she held in her hands the manuscript she titled The Power of Letting Go, but she never published it. Why? Because she realized people weren't ready, that they would read letting go as giving up, that they would interpret surrender as weakness, that they would mistake grace for passivity. So she taught in other ways, through affirmations, through stories, through case studies of clients who manifested only when they finally stopped trying so hard. But the manuscript remained locked away, in a drawer, for decades, until in 1980, 50 years later, a nephew of Florence's found it, read it, and was shocked, because Florence had written explicitly what she only hinted at in her books. She had revealed the exact mechanism, the precise technique, the forgotten power. The manuscript read like this: "The reason your manifestations are delayed is not because you don't have enough faith. It's because you don't fully let go. You declare, you decree, you affirm, and then you wait. And waiting is holding on. And holding on blocks the flow, because you don't trust that it's already done. You pretend to trust, but deep down, you're watching, checking, asking where it is. And every time you ask, you cancel it. Every time you check, you doubt. Every time you anxiously wait, you push it away. The secret is to declare and forget, not declare and wait, not declare and check. Declare and completely release it, as if you planted a seed and never looked at it again. Does it grow? Yes, it grows. Whether you're watching or not, whether you're checking or not, in fact, it grows better when you don't watch, because your attention isn't carrying doubt, disguised as concern. Florence tested this with a client named Emily. Emily was desperate. 3 years trying to sell her house. Nothing. So she started doing affirmations every day, but the house still wouldn't sell. Florence asked, "Do you declare and forget, or do you declare and keep thinking about it?" Emily confessed. She affirmed, and then spent the entire day imagining buyers, mentally walking through the house, checking if everything was in order, planning what she would do with the cash. Florence said, "You're strangling the manifestation. You're holding on so tightly. You're not letting it happen." Emily didn't understand. "How can I be blocking it if I'm thinking about it all the time?" Florence explained. "Exactly. Thinking about it all the time is not trusting. It's watching, it's controlling, and control is the opposite of faith. True faith declares once and forgets, because it knows it's done in the invisible. And the invisible doesn't need supervision. It needs freedom to manifest." Emily was skeptical, but she was desperate, so she agreed to try. Florence had her declare one. Last time, "I give thanks that my house is sold to the perfect buyer, for the perfect price, at the perfect time. It is done. It is finished." And then she said something that shocked Emily. "Now you're going to promise me you won't think about it again. No more mentally walking through the house. No more imagining buyers. No more checking listings. You've declared, you've released, you've forgotten." Emily thought it was impossible. "How can I forget something I want so badly?" Florence replied, "That's exactly the problem. You want it so badly. You're not letting it arrive. Wanting is tension. Wanting is lack. Wanting is fear of not having, and all of that blocks it. Grace operates in the vacuum, in the empty space. When you completely let go, you create a vacuum, and the vacuum pulls the manifestation like an irresistible magnet. Emily promised to try, and it was the hardest thing she had ever done. Every time she thought about the house, she had to consciously divert her attention. Every time she felt anxiety, she had to remember, I've already declared it. It's done. I don't need to watch it. And in the first few days, it was torture. But then something strange happened. She began to feel peace. A peace that didn't make sense. As if she had really already sold the house. As if the cash was already in the bank. On the 10th day, the phone rang. A realtor called. A buyer was interested, wanting to see the home the very next day. Emily almost panicked. Almost started planning, imagining, preparing. But she remembered Florence Scovel Shinn. She let it go. She said, "It is done," and forgot about it again. The buyer came, made an offer. Right then and there, for the asking price, cash payment, closing in 1 week. For 3 years she was stuck. 10 days after letting go. Sold. Emily ran back to Florence Scovel Shinn. How is this possible? Florence Scovel Shinn smiled. It's not just possible. It's inevitable. When you truly let go, when you truly trust, when you truly decree from a place of grace, not desperation, you activate a power that isn't yours. That doesn't depend on you. That only flows through you. When you stop blocking it with control, fear, and constant checking. And this became Florence Scovel Shinn's secret method. She only taught it to private clients, to people who were truly ready, who would understand, who wouldn't misunderstand. And the results were always the same. Miraculous, instantaneous, impossible according to common logic, but perfectly natural according to the law of grace. The method had 3 steps, just 3. First, decree once with absolute conviction. Do not repeat it every day. Repeating is doubting. It's thinking that once wasn't enough. Second, let go completely. Don't think about it anymore. Don't check. Don't plan. As if it has already happened, and now you simply live your life. Third, when doubt comes, and it will come, don't fight it. Simply remember, I've already decreed it. It is done in the mind of God. I don't need to do anything other than live. And Florence Scovel Shinn added something crucial. She said, fill the vacuum. When you release what you want, there's an empty space in your mind. And the human mind hates a vacuum. So fill it with gratitude. Not for having received it yet, but for having decreed it. For having access to grace. For being a divine channel. Gratitude that doesn't depend on the result, that just is. And that gratitude becomes the most powerful magnet there is. A man named Robert sought out Florence Scovel Shinn in 1928. He was bankrupt, business destroyed, family broken, health failing. He had tried everything. Affirmations, visualizations, rituals. Nothing worked. Florence Scovel Shinn asked one question. Are you doing all of this with desperation or with peace? Robert admitted. With desperation, with urgency, with fear. Florence Scovel Shinn nodded. That's why it's not working. Desperation blocks. Urgency strangles. Fear repels. She taught him the method. Decree once. Release completely. fill with gratitude. Robert was skeptical. "I've already tried everything. Why would this be different?" "Florence Scovel," Shinn replied, "because you've never tried not trying. You've never truly let go. You've always been waiting, checking, doubting. This time, you're going to do it differently. You're going to decree and live as if you've already received it. Not in fantasy, but in deep peace," Robert decreed. "I give thanks that infinite prosperity flows to me now from all directions. My ship has come in. It is done. It is consummated." And then Florence Scovel Shinn made him promise. He wouldn't think about it anymore. No planning. How the cash would come. No desperately searching for opportunities. "You've decreed it. God has heard. The invisible is working. You just live your life in gratitude and peace." Robert thought it was insane, but since he was at rock bottom, he agreed to try. And it was liberating. For the first time in years, he stopped trying to control. He stopped searching desperately. He stopped forcing. He just lived. He did what he had to do. But without desperation, without urgency, without fear. And something strange started to happen. Doors opened. People appeared. Opportunities arose. Out of nowhere. Without him seeking. Without him forcing. In 3 months, he was employed. In 6 months, he had tripled his salary. In 1 year, he had started his own business. In 2 years, he was rich. Not little by little, not gradually. In explosions, in leaps, in miracles that he couldn't explain. And when he returned to thank Florence Scovel Shinn, she said something he never forgot. "It wasn't me. It was you. When you finally stopped blocking, when you finally let go, when you finally trusted, you activated the power of grace. And grace knows no limits, knows no impossibilities. It just flows. And this is the forgotten power. It's not attraction, it's surrender. It's not seeking, it's permission. It's not effort, it's grace." And Florence Scovel Shinn discovered this in 1925, that June night, when a presence revealed to her the word surrender. And she understood that every teaching of manifestation that focuses on doing more is wrong. The secret is not doing more. It's doing less. It's not controlling better. It's letting go completely. It's not having more faith. It's having less doubt disguised as zeal. And why has this been forgotten? Because it's dangerous. For those who sell manifestation courses, for those who teach complex techniques, for those who profit from people's desperation. Because if you knew that you just needed to decree once and let go, you wouldn't need a course, you wouldn't need a coach, you wouldn't need an elaborate ritual. You just need one decision to decree and let go and to live. But it's difficult because truly letting go is scary. It seems like you're giving up. It seems like you're being irresponsible. It seems like you're trying less. And society says the opposite. It says, try harder, strive harder, control more, plan better. And all of that blocks grace, because grace doesn't need effort. It needs surrender. It doesn't need control. It needs trust. It doesn't need plans. It needs faith. Florence Scovel Shinn explained it like this. Imagine you plant a seed. You bury it, water it, and then what do? You let it grow. You don't keep digging it up to see if it's sprouted. You don't keep pulling on it to grow faster. You trust. You know that the life inside the seed knows what to do. And so it is with decrees. You declare, you plant it in the mind of God, and then you let it be. Don't keep checking. Don't keep forcing. Trust that divine intelligence knows how and when to manifest. But the human mind hates that. It wants to control. It wants to know how. It wants to know when. It wants guarantees. And every time you demand to know how, you block it. Because you're saying to God, I don't trust that you know the best way. I'm going to dictate how it should happen. And that limits it. Because God has infinite paths. But you, with your limited mind, only see 2 or 3. And you demand that it be by one of those. And you block all the others that would be faster, easier, more abundant. That was the mistake of a client named Sarah. She wanted to get married. She decreed it. But at the same time, she had already chosen who the husband would be, a specific man. And she made decrees for him to fall in love with her. And Florence Scovel Shinn said, You're limiting grace. You're saying to the universe, only this man will do. There's someone 10 times better waiting to meet you. You'll never know, because you closed the door to him by insisting on another. Sarah let go. She stopped focusing on the specific man. She decreed, I give thanks that my perfect partner meets me now. It is done. And she forgot it. In just 2 months, she met someone. In 6, she was married. And she admitted it herself. This man is 100 times better than the one I was trying to force. Florence smiled. It's always like that. When you release control, you receive something better than you imagined. Because your imagination is limited. Grace is not. And that is the forgotten power. It's not about visualizing more. It's about visualizing less. It's not about affirming more. It's about affirming once and forgetting. It's not about having greater faith. It's about having less doubt. Because doubt isn't always obvious. Sometimes it comes disguised as zeal, as care, as planning, as verification. And every time you check if the manifestation is arriving, you doubt. Every time you plan exactly how it should happen, you control. And control and grace do not coexist. Florence used to say, you have to choose. Law of karma or law of grace. Karma is cause and effect. You plant, you harvest. You work, you receive. You force, you conquer. And it works. But it's slow. It's difficult. It's limited. Grace is different. Grace is unearned. Grace is unexpected. Grace is miraculous. You don't conquer. You receive. You don't force. You allow. You don't work more. You release more. And the key to activating grace is one word. A single word that Florence discovered on that June night in 1925. The word that the presence whispered. The word that carried volumes of meaning. And that word is accomplished. Not being done. Not will be done. It is accomplished, past, complete, finalized, in the invisible, in the mind of God. And it's just waiting for manifestation in the visible. But it's already done. When you decree using accomplished, something shifts. You're not asking, you're declaring. You're not waiting. You're acknowledging. You're not attracting. You're allowing. And that changes everything. Because asking comes from lack. Declaration comes from authority. Waiting comes from doubt. Acknowledgement comes from certainty. Attraction comes from separation. Permission comes from union. And Florence taught the exact decree. The one she used. The one she taught only to clients who were ready. the one she never published in books, the one that was in the manuscript forgotten for 50 years. And it's this: I give thanks that the infinite prosperity that is already mine in the invisible manifests now in the visible. It is accomplished. It is done. And I release completely, trusting that divine intelligence knows the perfect way. Simple? Yes. Easy? No. Because the hard part isn't the decree. It's the releasing. It's really trusting. It's really forgetting. It's really stopping. The checking. The controlling. The doubting. But when you get it, when you really let go, the results are instantaneous. Not always in visible manifestation, but always in inner peace. And inner peace is a sign that you've unlocked it, that you're flowing, that grace has been activated. Florence used to say, the universe has one purpose for you: abundance in everything: cash, health, love, joy. Not because you deserve it, but because it's your divine nature. You are a child of an abundant God. Abundance is your inheritance. But you block it with fear, with doubt, with control, with desperation. And the only real spiritual work is to remove blockages, not to create abundance. It already exists. Just allow it to flow. And YouTube has a powerful tool that you can use now: the super thanks. And Florence would teach it like this: gratitude is decree. Every time you are grateful, you declare, I have. And declaring, I have, attracts more to have. So use the super thanks as a living decree, as gratitude in action, as acknowledgement that what you received in this video is already transforming your life. Not later, now. And that gratitude opens portals, creates a vacuum, activates grace. And the next manifestation comes faster because you didn't wait to receive to give thanks. You gave thanks as if you'd already received. And that is the supreme secret. Now, let me teach you the exact technique that Florence used with clients who were absolutely blocked. Clients who had tried everything, and nothing worked. It was called the sacred vacuum technique, and it worked in 3 simple movements. But each movement had to be done with absolute precision, otherwise it wouldn't activate. First movement, final decree. You will decree one last time, and while you decree, you will feel that you're closing a cycle, that you're planting the last seed, that after that, it's over. You won't talk about it anymore. You won't think about it anymore. You won't decree about it anymore. One single time. Final. Complete. Accomplished. And the decree is, I give thanks that everything I need is already provided. My ship has come into safe harbor. It is accomplished in the mind of God. And I release completely. Second movement, conscious redirection. Every time the thought about what you decreed returns. And it will return, because the human mind is like that. You don't fight it. Don't repress it. Don't pretend you didn't think it. You simply redirect. Think. It's already done in the invisible. I don't need to watch over it. And then focus on something else. Anything, work, hobby, conversation, nature, whatever. The important thing isn't what you focus on. It's that you don't keep ruminating. You don't keep checking. You don't keep doubting disguised as zeal. Third movement, gratitude without reason. Every day upon waking, you give thanks, but not for what you decreed. For the simple fact of being alive, of having access to grace, of being a divine channel. Gratitude that doesn't depend on an external result, that just is. And that gratitude creates the sacred vacuum, the empty space that pulls manifestation like a storm, pulls lightning. Florence taught this technique to a woman named Jane in 1930. Jane had cancer. Doctors had given up. 6 months to live. She was terrified. She had tried all the prayers, all the alternative treatments. Nothing worked. And Florence looked into her eyes and said something brutal. You don't want to heal. You want to control the healing. And as long as you want to control, you will block it. Jane was offended. How could I not want to heal? Florence explained, you want to heal in the way you think is right, in the time you think is right, in the form you think is right. And every time it doesn't happen the way you want, you panic. And panic is concentrated doubt, and doubt cancels the decree. You need to release control. You need to trust that if God wants to heal you, it will be in His way, and His way is always better, faster, more complete than yours. Jane cried. But something inside her broke, a fierce control that she had held for years, and she agreed to do the sacred vacuum technique. She decreed one last time. I give thanks that the perfect health that is already mine in the invisible manifests now. It is accomplished, and I release completely. And then Florence made Jane promise something insane. You will no longer talk about the disease. You will no longer check symptoms. You will no longer make plans for the last months. You will live as if you are already healed. Not in denial, but in absolute faith. Jane agreed. And it was terrifying, because every fiber of her body was screaming, "You're dying! Pay attention!" But she redirected her focus. It's already done. I don't need to watch over it. And focused on living, on laughing, on loving, on being present. And something miraculous happened. The pain diminished. The fatigue vanished. Peace came. And 3 months later, she returned to the doctor. He ran new tests and was speechless. The tumor had disappeared, completely, without medical explanation, without logical reason. Catherine lived another 32 years, and every time she told the story, she said the same thing. It wasn't the technique that healed me. It was the letting go. It was stopping to hold on so tightly that I was strangling the miracle. It was trusting that God knew better than I did. And when I trusted, when I really let go, what was impossible became inevitable. And that is the forgotten power. It's not in elaborate techniques. It's in radical simplicity. Decree, release, live. Not decree and wait anxiously. Not decree and obsessively check. Not decree and rigidly control. But decree with absolute faith. Release with complete confidence and live as if you've already received it. Because in the unseen, you already have received it. You just need to allow the unseen to become visible. And you allow it by releasing, not by holding on. Florence Scovel Shinn used to tell a parable. Imagine you're holding a ball underwater. You have to exert constant force, always pushing, eternally tiring yourself out. And the ball remains submerged. But the moment you release it, without doing anything, the ball rises on its own. By nature, by law, by inevitability. It's the same with your manifestations. You hold them underwater with control, fear, doubt, urgency, and they don't rise. Not because they don't want to, but because you don't let them. Release, and they rise on their own. Quickly, easily, inevitably. But there's a warning that Florence always gave, and it's crucial that you understand. Releasing is not giving up. It's not being passive. It's not doing nothing. You still act. But you act inspired, not desperate. You act with peace, not with urgency. You act trusting, not forcing. The difference is subtle, but essential. Desperate action blocks. Inspired action facilitates. How to know which is which. Simple. Desperate action drains you. Inspired action energizes you. Desperate action tires you. Inspired action flows. So when Florence said, "Release," she wasn't saying sit and wait. She was saying, live normally, work, seek opportunities, but without desperation, without urgency, without fear that if you don't do it, you'll lose out. Trusting that if it's meant to be yours, it will be. And if it's not, something better is coming. That confidence changes everything because you stop chasing and you start allowing. And the universe responds to permission much faster than to chasing. A young man named Thomas approached Florence in 1932, right in the depths of the Great Depression. He had lost everything and was thinking of giving up on life. Florence listened to his story and said, "You know what your real problem is? It's not lack of cash. It's an excess of fear. Fear made you hold on, made you control, made you despair. And all of that blocked the natural flow of abundance that is your divine right." Thomas didn't understand. How can I not be afraid when I'm literally without anything? Florence smiled. Exactly. You're without anything. So you have nothing to lose, nothing to protect, nothing to hold on to. You're in the perfect place to release completely, to trust absolutely, to activate grace fully, because grace loves a vacuum, and you are a walking vacuum right now. Use it. Thomas really had nothing to lose, so he made the decree. I give thanks that infinite prosperity flows to me now in unexpected ways. It is done. And he released it. Really released it. Because he didn't have the energy to hold on anymore. And he started living, one day at a time, doing what appeared for him to do. Without desperation, without urgency, just living. And in 6 months, he had a job. In a year, he had savings. In 2 years, he had his own business. In 5 years, he was a millionaire. And when he returned to thank Florence, she said, "It wasn't a miracle. It was law, the law of grace, which has always worked, always will work. It just needs one thing, for you to stop blocking it. And you were blocking it with fear. When the fear left because you had nothing left to lose, the blockage left, and grace flowed, as it always wanted to flow, as it always tried to flow. But you wouldn't let it, until you did, and everything changed. That's the truth that Florence wanted everyone to know. You don't create abundance, you release it. It's already there. In the unseen, in the mind of God, in the quantum field, in the spiritual realm. Call it what you want. It already exists. Complete. Perfect. Waiting. Just waiting for you to stop blocking it. For you to release control. For you to trust completely. And the moment you release, you manifest it. Not always immediately in the visible, but always immediately in the feeling. Peace comes first. Manifestation comes later, but it comes, inevitably. And if you're feeling that peace now, while you're listening to this, it's a sign that something has unblocked, a sign that you're ready, a sign that this message arrived at the perfect time. And Florence taught, when you feel peace for no external reason, it's God confirming. It's the unseen saying, it is done. Just live. And the visible will align. It always aligns. It may take a day, it may take a week, it may take a month, but it always happens because grace doesn't fail. It just awaits permission. So here's what you're going to do. After this video ends, you're going to decree one last time. You're not going to save the video to decree every day. You're not going to repeat it tomorrow. You're not going to do an elaborate ritual. You're going to decree it now, a single time, with absolute conviction. And then you're going to forget it. You're going to release it. You're going to live, trusting that it is consummated, that it is done, that it is just awaiting manifestation in perfect timing. And every time doubt comes, and it will come, because that's how the human mind is, you're going to remember, I've already decreed it. It's done. I don't need to watch over it. And you're going to focus on gratitude. Gratitude for being alive. Gratitude for having access to grace. Gratitude for being a divine channel. And that gratitude will keep the vacuum open, will keep the flow free, will keep grace active, and your manifestation will come, inevitably. And comment down below. Don't tell me what you decreed. That's between you and God. But tell me what you felt, because feeling is the language of the soul. And when you felt peace, felt joy, felt relief, felt certainty, it's a sign that something happened in the unseen. And the unseen always becomes visible. It's just a matter of time. And God's timing is different than ours. But it's always perfect. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered the forgotten power in 1925, taught it in secret for decades, kept the manuscript for 50 years. But the message couldn't stay hidden forever. It had to return. It had to be revealed. It had to reach you. Now, at this moment. Because you were ready. Because the timing was perfect. Because your soul knew, even before you clicked on this video, your soul knew that it was time. Time to let go. Time to trust. Time to activate the power that has always been yours. Just forgotten, but not anymore. Now you remember. And in remembering, everything changes. The power isn't in seeking. It's in releasing. It's not in controlling. It's in trusting. It's not in doing more. It's in allowing more. And Florence Scovel Shinn summed it all up in one phrase that she repeated every day until the day she died. My ship comes in loaded. I see it on the horizon. And I relax completely, knowing that it's coming. And it came. It always came. And it will come for you too. If you let go, if you trust, if you activate grace instead of forcing through karma. It is finished. These 3 words change everything because it's not being done. It's not going to be done. It is finished, complete, finalized, done, in the invisible realm. And the invisible is more real than the visible. The visible is just a shadow, a reflection, an echo of what already exists completely in the invisible. So, when you declare, it is finished, you're not lying, you're not fantasizing. You're recognizing a spiritual reality that precedes physical reality. Always has, always will. And this is the forgotten power that Florence Scovel Shinn used to multiply riches, not just hers, but of everyone she taught, of everyone who trusted, of everyone who let go, The power to recognize the invisible, to trust in the unseen, to release control, to allow grace. A simple power, a radical power, a forgotten power. But not lost, just awaiting you now. Activating, manifesting, living. From this moment on, nothing will be the same. Because you remember, and remembrance is power, the power to change everything. Starting now, it is finished.